follow in your path, Lord, to follow without fainting, bowing at your throne, Lord, and never looking back. Amarte solati, Signor. Amarte solati, Signor. Amarte solati, Signor. Y no mirar atrás, seguir tu camino, Señor. Seguir sin desmayar, Señor. Postrado ante tu altar, Señor, y no mirar atrás. Seguir tu camino, Señor. Seguir sin desmayar, Señor. Postrado ante tu altar, Señor, y no mirar atrás. I love only you, Lord. I love only you, Lord. I love only you, Lord. My heart wants only you. To follow in your path, Lord, to follow without fainting, bowing at your throne, Lord, and never looking back. To follow in your path, Lord, to follow without fainting, bowing at your throne, Lord, and never looking back.
Good morning once again, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to another Living Hope Today study. And today I just want to take a step back before we launch into Nehemiah chapter 2. You know, today there are battles in the Middle East. And one of the things that's said about the Middle East is Israel doesn't belong there. That's one of the great causes of the fight. In 1948, when Israel was reestablished in the Promised Land, the Arab world went crazy. How do they have any right to be here? Well, consider the book of Nehemiah. We're in a very similar situation. The exiles have been gone for over 70 years. And all of a sudden, the king of Persia says, well, you guys can go back home. Why don't you go back to where you came from, and we'll help you get your temple rebuilt, and we're going to assist the move. And then guess what? The locals that have been there for the last 70 years without the exiles say, what are you doing here? Who gives you the right to come in here and start building things and moving things around and claiming that this is your land? The same kind of conflict that happens even in modern time happened back in the days of Nehemiah. In other words, this has been an area of contention for literally millennia. And until the Lord returns, I guess it's going to stay that way. But as we see today, God knows how to move the hand and the mind of the king to accomplish his purpose, even if the king isn't very aware of what's happening and the spiritual significance of what he's ordering. Let me show you what I mean. Today, when you get to Nehemiah chapter 2 and you get to verse 1, we're going to find a guy named Nehemiah talking to the king. Look at this. In the month of Nisan, that's in the spring, March or April, in the 20th year of King Artaxerxes, remember he's the son of Xerxes. Xerxes is the king that ordered Esther to be his queen. So Esther is Xerxes' stepmom, I guess you'd call it. Okay, so here we have the month and the timing in terms of Artaxerxes' reign. When wine was brought for him, I took the wine and gave it to the king. You recall at the end of chapter 1, we were told that Nehemiah is the cupbearer, meaning that his job is to drink the wine to make sure nobody's trying to poison the king. In the ancient world, oftentimes this cemented a relationship between the king and the cupbearer, because obviously the cupbearer is taking a risk every time the king wants a glass of wine. Listen to what Nehemiah says at the end of verse 1. I had not been sad in his presence before. All right, so normal day, Nehemiah is a happy guy. So the king asked me, hey, why does your face look so sad when you are not ill? This can be nothing but sadness of heart. And then look at the footnote at the bottom of verse 2. I was very much afraid. Why would you be afraid if you saw the king noticed you were sad? You know, these kings had all authority and all power. There was no vote. There was no second opinion. If the king said his decree, everybody bowed to it or faced death. Apparently, Nehemiah is concerned that his sadness is noticeable enough to bring the king to a place where the king might act against him. As the story moves forward, but I said to the king, may the king live forever. Why should my face not look sad when the city where my fathers are buried lies in ruins, and its gates have been destroyed by fire? Okay, king, you're right, I am sad, and my depression comes from what's happened in Jerusalem. The king said to me, well, what is it you want? And then I prayed to the God of heaven. I love verse 4. Nehemiah in the text does not automatically answer the king. First, he goes to God and asks for favor. And I answered the king, if it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor in his sight, let him send me to the city in Judah, where my fathers are buried, so that I can rebuild it. Now, Ezra is already on that journey, but Nehemiah now, as the cupbearer to Artaxerxes, feels the need to go himself. This time, instead of rebuilding the temple, he's going to rebuild the wall and reestablish Jerusalem as a fortified city. Then the king, with the queen sitting beside him, asked me, how long will your journey take, and when will you get back? It pleased the king to send me, so I set a time. I also said to him, if it pleases the king, may I have letters to the governors of Trans-Euphrates, so that they will provide me safe conduct until I arrive in Judah. What's that about? Well, this is a terribly long journey, and it's a very, very dangerous journey. There are bandits and basically bad guys all along the way. But if you can show a letter that says, I'm here under the order of King Artaxerxes, and if you mess around with me, you're going to have to answer to him. That was a good means of protection. All right? So Nehemiah asked for the letter, and then he asked for a second letter. May I have a letter to Asaph, keeper of the king's forest? Timber was really valuable in those days, as it is now too. So he will give me timber to make beams for the gates of the citadel by the temple and for the city wall and for the residence I will occupy. And because the gracious hand of my God was upon me, the king granted my request. Notice how the text ties the king's actions to the fact that Nehemiah prayed, and God is moving the hand of the king, King Artaxerxes, whether the king understands it or not. But as Nehemiah prays, and then the king responds favorably, Nehemiah recognizes that the blessing is from God. So I went to the governors of Trans-Euphrates, and I gave them the king's letters. The king had also sent army officers and cavalry with me. There's another indication of just how dangerous this journey is. The king sent the army, at least some of the warriors with him. Okay, verse 10. When Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah the Ammonite official heard about this, okay, these are two guys that are going to fight against what Nehemiah wants to do. They were very much disturbed that someone had come to promote the welfare of the Israelites. There you see the same tension we have in the Middle East today. What are you doing here? Why should we help you? You remember that the restoration project has been stunted and delayed a few times already in the ministry of Ezra. Well, Nehemiah is going to face similar opposition. And why? Well, it's not always easy to do what God wants you to do, and there will be people that oppose. And here we are. Sanballat and Tobiah are here to say, we don't like this. I went to Jerusalem, and after staying there 3 days, I set out during the night with a few men. So now Nehemiah, although he's been opposed, and Sanballat and Tobiah don't want this, he's going on the midnight reconnaissance journey to scope out what's going on. He says, I set out during the night with a few men. I had not told anyone what my God had put in my heart to do for Jerusalem. There were no mounts, that means horses, with me except the one I was riding on. So we get that description. And by night I went out through the valley gate. Now that reference to a valley gate is not necessarily identifiable exactly. Again, these walls and gates are assumed by scholarship, but not provable. Okay, the Jackal Well and the Dung Gate, some think that was a gate where the city's open sewer line ran out. But he says where he's going, examining the walls of Jerusalem, which had been broken down, and its gates, which had been destroyed by fire. Then I moved on toward the fountain gate and the king's pool, but there was not enough room for my mount to get through. So I went up the valley by night, examining the wall. Finally, I turned back and re-entered through the valley gate. So that's the midnight recon mission that Nehemiah is on. He's gone through the area to just assess the damage. The officials did not know where I had gone or what I was doing, because as yet I had said nothing to the Jews or the priests or the nobles or the officials or any others who would be doing the work. So he scoped it out. Then I said to them, you see the trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been burned with fire. Again, notice the repetition. We see this several times in the text. Jerusalem's in ruins. The gates have been burned. When an author keeps bringing up the same issue, what's he pointing at? In this case, I think he's pointing at the fact that There has been great judgment meted out to the city of Jerusalem and to the surrounding area of Judah. God has allowed Nebuchadnezzar to basically destroy the temple and almost completely depopulate Jerusalem. All right, that keeps coming up. And now we see through the mercy of God and the order of the king, these things are about to be reversed. So what does Nehemiah say to these guys? He says, "Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, and we will no longer be in disgrace." As we said last time, just understand that in an empire, when you destroy a culture or you take over a city, one of the most prominent things you do is you destroy the wall. Why? That means they can't have a fortification that can stop you from doing whatever you want in that city. So for Nehemiah to say, look, we're rebuilding this wall, and for him to say it with the approval of the king, Artaxerxes, really one who could easily become an opponent instead of a helper, right? This could be a threat to normal Persian government. Why would we let this foreign people rebuild their city and put their wall back up? Our predecessors knocked that wall down for a reason. We don't need to deal with them. They might become an enemy again. Well, God is moving. He is moving. There's an undercurrent in these history books that shows us that the Lord is moving the pieces on the board, whether the players understand it or not. And we see that happening right here in Nehemiah 2. We're going to rebuild the wall. I also told them about the gracious hand of my God upon me and what the king had said to me, and they replied, "Let us start rebuilding." So they began this good work. Again, what's the opposition doing? They're sitting by watching these guys walk into town and decide that they're going to adjust the circumstances and the structures in the city. When Sanballat the Horonite, Tobiah the Ammonite official, and Geshem the Arab heard about it, they mocked and ridiculed us. All right, who do you guys think you are? Or what do you think you're doing? And there it is. What is this you are doing? They asked. Are you rebelling against the king? Again, that's a legitimate question because the foreign power almost never allows the conquered to rebuild their walls. So are you now posing a threat to the king by refortifying Jerusalem? I answered them by saying, the God of heaven will give us success. Here we go. So to the enemies who are trying to stop the work, Nehemiah tells them that God is the one underneath all this that's making this happen, and he'll give us success. We, his servants, will start rebuilding, but as for you, here it comes, the sentence that's been repeated for millennia, you have no share in Jerusalem or any claim or historic right to it. Well, that's how to start a fight, isn't it? God understands that a fight's going to start, and God understands that his plan will prevail and that his people will be reestablished in the promised land. It might not be perfect, and obviously through their sin, they've missed a great blessing of how easily this could have been accomplished, but nonetheless, God's going to keep his promise, and it's going to happen. So when Sanballat and Tobiah are told, you have no share in Jerusalem, you have no claim in Jerusalem, you have no historic right to Jerusalem, we hear the echoes of that statement bleed all the way down into modern day life, where it's still the case that there's a whole population that says to Israel, you don't belong here, you need to get out of here. And Israel saying, you guys are the ones that have no historic right to this place. Well, we'll see how this develops as we move forward in the book. I pray you just remember, God's in control, sovereignly in control. Follow him with all your heart. God bless you, church. Serve him well.
Who is it who for sinners shed his blood, and now for cleansing all can plunge beneath that flood? It's Jesus